are here to do.
Nobody pays attention.
Hello?
I know you did.
Hello?
Okay.
Thank you.
Just past my bedtime.
It's okay.
6:30, wasn't it?
You just tell them what I
Dr.
need.
Fields, it's always a delight to see you.
It's lovely to see you, sir. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for making this time for us. There's a page in the back of your set that has some notes on it, and so.
Oh, and that's the one you need back.
Uh,
You would like to be able to have this so you can refer to what
I
you want
think
to say. Those are your notes.
Liz. So Liz, join us.
Yes,
up
Liz,
here.
please introduce yourself
Yes.
again to us.
Uh,
Our brain did today.
When you're ready, we're ready.
Dolby.
So,
You're on.
Yes.
you're not, are we on yet?
Yeah, sure.
We are. All right. We are back from recess, and we are now meeting with the Barnstable County Human Rights Commission. We have Jackie Fields here. So Jackie, if you would introduce your friends and colleagues, that would be very helpful.
I would be delighted to do
Good.
that.
Welcome.
I am here to, instead of Elizabeth Goldberg, Dr. Goldberg, who has been the elected chair of the Barnstable County Human Rights Commission as of, it was a week ago Monday. And it was a momentous and wonderful event for the Human Rights Commission to have Liz Goldberg move up from vice chair to chair. You will probably know her and know her work. And she is a resident of Sandwich. She started out as the Sandwich Town rep. And at the first calling of the Human Rights Commission, when she heard about it, she found out that our first meeting was over at the commissioners' the little yellow house, and she just showed up and said, I want to be a part of this work. And we had never laid eyes on her, didn't know her at all. And she's been that kind of a member since day one, so she's outstanding. She is out of town for a professional meeting this morning, and so I did say that I have this extended little period of being chair. And you notice I'm reluctant to give it up. I am so reluctant to give it up. I begged Liz, please, if I can just be a part of a little bit of transition work that they're getting ready to do. So I am somewhat reluctant, but I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to serve as the chair and to work with the Human Rights Commission. Today we have two of our brand new members that were voted by the Assembly, our county assembly, where, and it's headed by Beth Albert, that it is a nonpartisan group within that group that screens all the candidates that apply to be a part of the Human Rights Commission. And this year, 17 people applied to be a part of the Human Rights Commission, which just floored us all, knocked our socks off. That one ad in the paper, and there were 17 citizens in Cape Cod that were willing to step up and be members. No pay, long hours, and lots of headache and work. So that was exciting. Two of them are here with us, and one is Paul Houlihan, excuse me, and another resident of Sandwich, and you all know John Reed that just got called out. There are two others that joined our organization, and I don't know if they know where to come or if we can expect them, but Camilla de Oliveira has joined us, and Steve's last name is Whitmore, and Steve Whitmore has joined our group, and it may be difficult for them to be at this meeting. Additionally, we were very fortunate this year to have Liz Dolby really push to join us as our coordinator, because again, we had a very competitive pool of candidates for the coordinator job. And Liz, we were in this room when we interviewed them, and she convinced us that she was the capable person, and she indeed is. So as of October 21st, we have really started with almost a brand new slate of members and staff. Mary Lohan, much loved coordinator, as you all know, moved back to Ireland at the end of August,
May I
and
ask you a question? She and her husband both went back?
the whole family moved back to Ireland, and it was at the end of August, early September.
It was very unexpected.
Oh, yes, it was for all of us. And so I think they're doing well. I think they're doing fine.
Good.
Her husband is a lawyer, and so he had to go. He's back in school to take the bar again, or whatever you have to do in Ireland.
Good.
So that's what they're doing. They found a house and all. But she was a wonderful colleague and friend
They
of
were-
Cape Cod. We
both
were
of them were
very,
lovely.
yeah, very pleased to know them both. Okay, so today we have John Reed that has joined the Human Rights Commission, and we have Paul, and the two others I hope that you'll meet another time. What has happened is that we learned early on, at least a month or so ago, that this would be the meeting where we would present our preliminary budget for FY11, and that we would talk about that. And Beth Albert advised me about all of that, and she thought that she would be here, but she couldn't be here today. I just talked to her earlier. So this is the budget that we have prepared for FY 2011 for the Human Rights Commission. It is the same number that we had last year because we were advised that, again, this is another crunch year with few dollars and not much in terms of operating funds. But we would also like for you to know that we do care very much for you to think about this in terms of this position being a salary position at some point in time, so that the person that does the work, the coordinator work for Barnstable County, can begin to be included in the rights and benefits of a salaried person to do this job, and that we can move this work that she does outside of the contractor level. Now, I know that that requires a lot of discussion and going over, but we view that this work is work that communities across the Commonwealth recognize it is a vital part of their community, and to pay for it by the community funds to care for the individuals that live in that particular town or resident. So we are hoping that we can move to the level of moving outside of a contractor position, which has a fixed salary, no benefits, no health care, and we recognize that, and we are very grateful to have this position as a contract position at this time. But we do view that this is work that contributes to the county mightily in terms of caring for all the things that we care about. And we think that the position, because we care about the things around this county, we need to care that this person has some of the same benefits as others that work for the county and that are salaried people. So we want to raise that, not today, not this year, not within this budget, but that if this position could be moved to the level of where the individual that is the coordinator could enjoy the benefits of being an employee of Barnstable County. So that's what we would like to raise at this time. We do not intend to do this now. We know that Liz Dolby has joined us October 21st. It was advertised as a contract job, and we recognize that, but we would like to continue conversation about exploring that at another time. So that's where we are with this small budget. As you can see, it is the same as last year. We really feel like we're losing money staying at the same as last year, and I know that everybody else is in the same boat in terms of doing the work that they're doing, because everything else costs more. And so that's our position about this. But I do want to call your attention to, and this will be important for the Assembly of Delegates when they see this as well. Our in-kind contribution, and that's the money that, those are the services and things that we get, as you know, where we don't pay for, and it includes our roof over our head at the Council of Churches, where we have a small desk operating service. We have a facility where we can meet and a conference room there. And last year we were able to buy a conference call set up where we can now speak to our members and our colleagues in different settings on Cape Cod. So that was a very big deal for us to be able to do that, and we can do that from the church. So that was an in-kind contribution, not the equipment to do the conversations, but to have a space to go. As you know, Ernie Hadley and I, we carried the Human Rights Commission in the back of our cars for a couple of years, and so we were very pleased when the Council of Churches offered us that space rent-free. You should also notice that we have in-kind contribution from Camp Burgess in the amount of about $1,500, and again, it too may be more given the cost of living, but that donation allows us to have our high school academy program at Camp Burgess, and I know that you know about that work. And also, we have factored in the estimated cost of our members and the work that we do in working with clients and working with seeing individuals across the Cape. And we put a dollar figure on that this year, and we think that that is about $13,000.
$100 an hour?
$13,000 for the entire year, for all of the...
Oh, for the entire year, not...
Yes, for the entire year. About $13,000 for the entire year, about 15 hours per month that each one of the commissioners contributes to the work. So we are factoring that in as our in-kind contribution. Below, you'll see that we were very successful with the Gale Fund again. They have supported our high school Human Rights Academy work, and they increased it this year by $1,000, even though they were subjected to enormous loss in terms of their budget last year, as you know. We did apply for a proposal with Best Buy. We thought local neighbors, they might support us for the work that we do, but we were not successful in that $8,000 application. So we were successful with continuation of the funding from the Cape Cod Foundation. On the next page, you'll see that those are the expenses that we have, and that's the coordinator's contract. And then all of the other expenses that we do incur are at that, they're on that page. I don't need to go over them for you, and you can see them. Some of them are simply stable conditions that we have can't do anything about, even though Liz's husband works for Comcast. We wish we could, but he can't help us with anything that we do with our phone or anything like that. So those are our expenses, and you just subtract the $26,000 from the $28,800, and you see that we live on $2,000. Now, I know that we're always going to get this, why aren't we out making more money? Why aren't we getting more proposals funded? Why aren't we doing that? And that is a very hard question for us to say that we have certainly tried and we have not been successful, and we want to be even more so. And so now we have these 4 spectacular new people to join us and to add the new juice that this organization needs to be able to do that, and to rely on some of the energies and strength of the people that have worked with us in the past to do that. So that's where we are with this. We appreciate having a Human Rights Commission, but it has nothing to do with us. We appreciate this commission recognizing the importance of having this Human Rights Commission for the 250,000 people that live on Cape Cod, and we want to provide the services for them in the best way that we can. So that's who we are. That's where we are this year. I wish that we could say that there's always that $40,000 proposal that I'm trying to get. It hasn't happened. And I wish that we had that. We may still keep plugging for that, but that's where we are now.
I'd like to make a comment. I went to Dr. Goldberg's event down in Harwich.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was remarkable. The kids that spoke about the problems in Darfur,
Mm-hmm.
the kids from Nauset that spoke about the problems that were that are present in many things that I didn't realize, especially with the clothing.
Yes.
I never realized that the clothing that is donated that we think is going to some useful cause is then baled and sent to places where it's resold, and the way the bales are set up, that the most expensive clothes are on the outside, so that it fools people in buying that. So being sent to countries that do not have a lot of money, and making them take their the small amount of money that they have and cheat them, which is what it sounds like. I think if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have realized it. I thought the event was very well attended, and the fact that the Dr. Goldberg, who is a professor up at my alma mater, Babson College. I think you're very lucky to have her. So I wanted to just pass that on as to how impressed I was with that. And I think that's the only event that I've actually had an opportunity to attend that you've had this year.
Thank you for saying that. That event is our International Human Rights Day. We recognize December 10th, which is across the world, the day that individuals take a step forward and say, how can we make this a better world? What are the things that we need to know? And that event included some aspects of our Human Rights High School Academy. And the Nauset High School, some of them are going to Haiti, I understand, this week. You may have heard that. And they're just very forward-thinking in terms of, and they really brought forward that what happens to clothes that go into those bins. And actually, there's a whole system of thievery that really goes on around that. And they made us aware of that. That was their project, their human rights project, and there were other programs there. Liz Goldberg was the person that was our vice chair at that time, and she really ran it, and she's outstanding. You may know that she has received the Outstanding Teacher Award at Babson for 2 years in a row. I think it's 2007 and 2008. And she teaches human rights at Babson, and Babson is a business school. And if you can imagine, her classes are oversubscribed by business school students in human rights. And that is, as you all know, with higher ed and academia, that oversold classes are money makers for higher ed institutions. Whenever you have a professor that just simply oversells her class and they have to turn people away, that they view that as a real moneymaker, and that's what she is. And she was the teacher elected 2 years in a row for that. She has won tenure, and she is on a sabbatical this year, and so it's spectacular to have her. She found us. She found the Human Rights Commission on Cape Cod, and we didn't find her. And the Human Rights Academy program is her program. She has designed that, and she brought it to our region to have. Every school on Cape Cod participates. And she even we've had at least 6 Babson business students come and present to our high school students. And some of them come, as you probably know, when you go down there. They've got the spiked hair and the chains and the piercing.
No,
and
not Babson College.
and they come and they so fit in with our kids, that our high school kids on Cape Cod, when they come and they talk about human rights and the intersection of human rights and the world of business. So whenever we have one, we'll have another one in April, but you'll have to come. But that is Liz Goldberg's contribution to Cape Cod, and she is truly spectacular. We are very concerned that because she is so good, she is called by other places. She's in Ann Arbor at University of Michigan today for some of the work that she does, and so I get to pitch in for her, which is fine with me. But
and by the way, Babson College has taken a great emphasis on teaching or incorporating ethical process in their business training, because as an academic coach up there, the element that we have in the cases that we give the kids has a big ethical component, which it did not have 6 or 7 years ago when I started in that program. So
wow.
I would attribute that to the influence that she's had on that fine college.
Well, she has really, there's so many other things. She's been in the New York Times, and so, but I do want to draw your attention to the fact that we have the same expectations of our new members this year. John Reed, as you know, is a resourceful person for our community, and we
He's
expect...
dearly missed in Barnstable High School. I don't think they know what's going on over there. Every time I talk to somebody about who knows what's going on in the hallways, you always knew.
Now, John and Paul are both, as you mentioned, new members.
Brand new members, yes.
And we appointed your 4 new members
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago.
2 of the
And
4.
we asked them to come today, even though we know them,
Yes.
to congratulate them and to welcome them to the Human Rights Commission. It's an experience that you are very fortunate to have, and we're very fortunate to have you. So we're glad you're here. And maybe they'd like to have a chance to tell us something about why they're here.
Please do.
So, John, you start.
Well, thank you. I just came from school. My volunteer situation in school. Currently, since I allegedly retired, and I use that word allegedly, because sometimes I have to figure out what that means.
No, you just took a pig.
True. I have an extensive background in human and civil rights because of my NAACP work and other community aspects. And I spent the last 15 years as the equity officer for the Barnstable Public Schools, doing cases, listening to complaints, mediations, parent issues, special ed issues, and behavioral issues. Part of that career was also I was the court liaison for the Barnstable Public Schools. So most of the activity that we had, I served in the capacity of the advocate for the school district and juvenile court and over here when necessary. But nevertheless, I've been on Cape Cod for 35 years, and of the 35, 25 have been feet to the ground doing things. Most of you know me. I don't really get into who I am so much. I just go do what I do. And I'm glad to be here. I was kind of surprised last week when we had the orientation and first meeting that we walked right in and there's work to be done right now. You're not even thinking about waiting. It's already there. It's kind of, we need to get it going at this present time. So I'm glad to come aboard. I'll do the best I can to make the commission work.
And we know you will. Thanks, John. Paul Houlihan.
Thank you. My name is Paul Houlihan. I live in East Sandwich. I guess my career kind of is divided into 2 or 3 different parts. I began as a community organizer in Boston area, a lot of the neighborhoods in Boston, including South Boston. Then I ran for about 15 years the anti-poverty agency for the Greater Framingham area, similar to the Cape Cod anti-poverty agency here. And in that capacity, got very much involved in housing development, tenants' rights issues, employment training, a whole range of social service issues. I then was asked by the University of Massachusetts to join the faculty there, and so I was there for about 8 or 9 years. I taught social and economic policy issues and helped the university establish the Gerontology Institute at UMass, which still continues. And then for about a dozen years, I had a really great opportunity to work internationally. I became president of a school called the School for Field Studies, which works in about half a dozen countries, ranging from Africa to Costa Rica, Mexico, etc., working on environmental justice issues and training university students in how to work in the field and with indigenous communities. About a year and a half ago, I retired. My wife has had some healthcare challenges, and I wanted to spend more time with her, which we've been able to do. My retirement lasted about 2 months, and I work again about 3/4 time. Fortunately, I do get paid. I've lived on the Cape for about 5 years with my wife, and in that time, came to know Jackie, and I was minding my own business, and all of a sudden I found myself being recruited to the Human Rights Commission. And like John, went to my first meeting a couple of weeks ago. I was very impressed by everybody there, by people's knowledge, by people's commitment, and I'm hoping that with the kind of range of experience that I've had, that I can contribute. So I very much appreciate the opportunity, and I will certainly do everything I can to be a positive influence.
Jill?
What do you see as your goals this year? I know that you serve a certain portion now. And before I start, just to go back to the high school academy and those. And my apologies for not attending some of the things that have been more recent, but it's just not in the schedule conflicts. But I have a child in high school, a junior, and she and her friends are she's now getting involved because she's been hooked by them. But they're very involved. Mm-hmm. And this is even through Cape Cod Academies and all. I mean, you go through the private and public schools. And I know that Nauset is a their country in a sense is Haiti because of the Wellfleet influence down there. And it does fantastic work, and it really does help these kids reach outside themselves and see that they're part of a bigger picture as opposed to it's all about me. So it's a great educational piece. But I do know that you're an advocate for those who feel as though they've had their rights trounced one way or another and violated. So can you tell us a little bit about how many people you saw, what would be your goals this year as far as maybe outreach, or how you would see the commission even becoming more effective and known?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because that is the question that we've had one orientation session, about 2 hours with the new members, and that is the goal of the new members, to identify what will be the thrust, the movement for the Human Rights Commission this year. We're coming from, as you probably know, a period where education provided for school-age children, mainly in the high school, was one of our goals. We provide services for all the individuals that call us, that have come to us, and that they have experienced discrimination on Cape Cod, and we work with those cases individually. Some of them are cases that deal with employment. Some of them deal with in employment in a number of settings. For instance, employment at Cape Cod Hospital, or employment for large corporations. They have come to us for that. Others have come, they simply have not been paid by workers, and that generally happens during the summer with the immigrant employees that are hired as pickup labor for the most part, and they have been over the past couple of years. And they've come and they have joined a crew of people that have worked, and then the workers that got paid, they weren't a part of that, and then the either managers or people that have paid, they have gone on and they have left some. So we've had cases like that. We've had cases where people have felt that they've been subjected to gender discrimination. So we get cases like that. We have several pending right now that one will be meeting with a large group of a large organization around a case of an individual. And then we have another one that is a case that may be a part of a large, Aramac is a large corporation that has settled for people with a class action suit about employment. You may have read about that. And our little Human Rights Commission here, we dealt with that individual first. She came to us, and then she went to MCAD, and and she is in a situation where her case has come up with MCAD. We don't know the final disposition of that, but so those are the types of cases that we have that exist on Cape Cod. Just one other thing about how, and we have to add this, how we've maximized our resources. The Boston Bar Association has joined with us in providing us legal services, and that came about by having Malcolm Medley, the director of the MCAD, came down, and you were here when he was here, and he didn't bring money that day, and I told him we were looking for him to bring money for us for something, but he did bring an association with the Boston Bar Association, so we simply have to call them, and they will answer any questions that we have, and they have sent someone down on a very difficult case that we had. And so that in itself is an enormous amount of in-kind contribution that we've been able to generate. But that's not getting to your question about what the goals are for this year, and they really are being formulated by the new members at this time. And I'd much rather have John and Paul discuss how they would begin to shape the Human Rights Commission for the next period of time. And it's in the formative stages at this point.
Right. I mean, look at you. You're still in the. You're only a couple of years old, and you've done tremendous work, and you've got your legs underneath you, and now it's time to really sort of see where your potential is. And I was just wondering, what are you kicking around?
Right. I think at the meeting last week, we talked about actually doing a strategic planning session, particularly because there's members that have been there for a while, and then there's people like myself and John that are just sort of getting our feet wet. And I've had a lot of experience doing strategic planning, and so that's something we're going to put in the mix, so that we kind of all get our ideas on the table, kind of get a unified vision in terms of, okay, what are the pieces we're going to carry out
Who
here?
are we?
How
What do
do
we do? What do we
Yeah,
stand
where
for?
are we going?
How are we going to do it?
And how we're going to get paid to support the effort. And I would say, just for my own part, that, part of it clearly needs to continue to be to advocate for cases that come forward, individuals who feel they've been discriminated against, whether it's in employment, housing, gender, whatever. I think also the whole initiative that was developed in terms of education and involvement of students is absolutely critical, and is a huge positive resource. Because as you well know, the younger you can get, folks to understand the implications of human rights, what it means, what it means to live an ethical life, what it means to be sensitive to other people, not only here but in other places. The more likely they are to inculcate that in themselves and carry it forward. So I think there's going to be definite sort of universal continued support for that kind of initiative. I think a third area is a more broad sort of community awareness. You see, you see sometimes actions that maybe are done out of not sort of active discrimination, but what I call kind of passive or unknowing. And I think that we need to do a lot of kind of raising the awareness of adults in our communities. So we need to be thinking about sort of how do you grab people's attention. People are extremely busy, lots going on, lots of input all the time. But I think that that's an area that we need to give attention to also. And then I think the other thing that I think is really important, and it's fortunate or unfortunate, is you need the money to do this kind of thing. And we clearly, we talked about it at our last meeting, understand the position the county's in. So as Jackie indicated, we're not naive. We're not coming and asking for double the budget kind of thing. But if we're going to do this, we need money. And I think one of the other discussions we had at the meeting was doing proposal development. And I've done a lot of that in my life. And I made the mistake of making that known to people. You learn, as you go along. But seriously, I'm very committed. I think that's a skill that I can help the group, and I'm very committed to try to do that with the colleagues. So.
One of the other things that we discussed was taking a look at the mission statement as a whole and subdividing it in areas of expertise that the new commissioners have. So in terms of the various aspects of what the commission is to do, 2 or 3 would do a subcommittee and bring reports back to the whole committee when there are particulars, such as she talked about employment cases. That's true, but some employment training is also needed, as well as housing. I volunteered because I do housing discrimination pieces to go and work on that aspect. Interestingly enough, our colleagues, everybody has a strength, and collectively, I didn't know that with 4 new people would make it double, as Jackie would put it, double the power. Mm-hmm. All right, so in the double the power, we have more people with more areas of expertise that they can do. And probably one of the bigger things we need to also be doing is communication out to the communities. Some people are with it and some people still don't get it. Mm-hmm. And when he said passive discrimination, I would say that sometimes ignorance is a better tool that people sometimes rely on rather than being enlightened to the process. And some of the experiences I've had with Commission Authority and our own interactions in schools has been there are really people, staff or students, who don't really understand what they're doing. And more trainings, and from my perspective, are necessary, even if they're just maintenance trainings. So people are up to date on where things are at and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. As a community as a whole, I believe the commission has a responsibility at least to advocate issues and give people forums if they feel that they need to have an outlet to bring it to be heard and resolved.
Yeah, I think it's all very, if you don't mind. I mean, I just think that as people, as a species, or wherever we are right now in our place, we react. I mean, everything is so fast. We react immediately without taking a stop and to ponder what is being said, what is being done. And I agree with you, John. I think a lot of it isn't. Sometimes it's selective ignorance. Like I can, why should I even bother? But some of it is truly, people are not malicious, they're just not stopping to think about what it must be like to be on that end as opposed to their end. And I think those types of, educational opportunities, just to have people stop, let's just give it a moment to think for a second, and those are good reminders for all of us, I think.
As I said earlier, John, it's counterinsurgency. It's every day in every way. You can't let up. We have events. Everybody comes into the room, or they call up, what do you call it, Angry Man Radio, and say, and shoot their mouth off, and then that goes away. It's every day. It's the persistence of every day.
Right.
You could go, if you went to the manual on psychological warfare operations, that's what it says. The battle of hearts and minds, it's not something that's anecdotal, it's something that is persistent and consistent.
Well, I was going to say that the other.
Yeah, I was going to.
Oh, we haven't.
You had heard from
Oh.
Yeah.
Liz, want to tell us about yourself, why you're so persistent? And
Why was I so persistent? I think, it's always funny to hear everybody's stories and the roads that have led us here. Mine isn't quite as dramatic or well educated, but I can say that before I was at the commission, I was worked in the foster care system for Mentor. So I definitely, it definitely has touched me in a somewhat dramatic way to see this very underrepresented population and how they've struggled and what they go through on a really personal level. So I am ecstatic to be working with the commission because it's just completely right in line with my passions, and what is right and good about, Cape Cod and Barnstable County and the world. So, yeah. It's great.
Yes. Well, we have to get back to your budget, too, because that's part of why we're here today.
And what it's saying is that
what I'm careful of is that knowing John as long as I have, if he decides that we should be doing something, he's probably going to run us over.
So you really, your budget comes out to 30,000, and you're asking for what you did last year, which
We're
was
asking for what we got last year.
Yes.
Which was 28.8.
28.8, and
Right.
so
You raised $2,800 offline, I think, wasn't it?
say it again?
You raised $2,800 on your own, I think, to supplement the
First
budget.
page was our budget for fiscal year 2010. And that's the 39 that you're seeing there. I think that some dollars were brought forward from the year before, and that's where it's reflecting more than 28.
Yeah, I think they had
Well, let's go to
encumbrances
Mark.
from the
Mhm.
year before. I believe
Encumbrance.
that
The
is what it is.
30,009 came from 09.
No, they had, I think you had $28,800 appropriated for 2010.
Right.
And the difference between the 28.8 and the number you're showing there were encumbrances that rolled from the previous fiscal year.
I see.
Rollover, leftovers.
Yeah, leftover bill.
Okay, so you don't incorporate, as part of your operational budget, the money that you raise from the Gale Fund, for example.
It's there.
It's there.
It's on the second.
Yeah, we use that in our budget as well. The $3,500 helps to pay for those expenses,
It wouldn't be in our budget.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
No.
it wouldn't be in our numbers.
but it is in the numbers.
You've accounted for it there, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The very last page is what we're proposing.
You're proposing 28.8.
Yes.
So what you've done from the previous year, which you presented the previous year, but it didn't get funded at
No,
30,009,
we
did it?
zeroed it out.
Correct.
That's right. So you're presenting what you actually had available to you in 2010.
That's what
Correct.
the Assembly added back to the budget.
Right.
And now they're asking us to approve them, as I understand it.
28.8.
28.8.
Comments?
We're
You're gonna
taking
ask if
everybody's
they want more,
request.
they
No,
do.
we're taking everybody's request, and then we're summing up
Right.
the final.
In
So
the
just,
preliminary that you have in front of you, that's in there.
Yes.
That's what's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we have any other questions on or
I'm very encouraged by what, is it Paul Houlihan?
Yes.
You talked about proposal development, because that's something that's been close to my heart since the initiation of the Human Rights Commission. And if there's anything that I could do, to support that, I would be delighted to do it, because I think that that's the solution to sustainable funding, for the human rights activity. If we could find,
Well, I appreciate that, and I know where to find you, so.
I know what happens when you open your mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that John knows how to find you too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
well, it's a pleasure that you
Yes,
guys are on it.
thank-
So I'm
yes.
very happy, and it's good seeing you both.
We're very
here.
pleased that you both applied and that you were actually appointed. And we know you'll be a great asset to the
And we
commission.
thank you for the appointment.
And let's,
Thank you.
same for you. And,
As you know, Jane Adams chairs the committee to review the applicants. Jane Adams from Falmouth,
Mhm.
Jeannie Adams, they call her. and,
Yeah, oh,
uh,
Gina, yeah.
Yes, and so she is the person that chairs the committee and screens, and she puts in an enormous amount of time. There were 17 applicants this year, so they had a big job. And one of our colleagues, Scober Rhodes, has worked with her, but he has a sick son in California, so he's not been able to do that this year. So, but thank you for having us today.
Let's just ask one other question. Of the 17 applicants, and I know there's only 4 were chosen, is there any way to sort of recruit them to do stuff? Because if they have an interest in it, it seems to me that they can, might be used as an asset, like an associate, membership or something like
Right,
that.
that's a very good idea.
We had
It's
actually
a wonderful
discussed
idea.
that
Mhm.
at the
Yeah.
And
January
subcommittees, helping
Mhm.
subcommittees.
Because nothing
projects.
restricts you from supplementing your committees by
Okay.
getting outside help.
That's a very, and it's a workable task that could be put in operation. Thank you for suggesting it.
All right.
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
much.
That's okay.
Mark, did we complete our discussions with you, or do you still have more? Do you have any personnel
Just a
issues?
comment from me. I'll talk to you later.
Maggie doesn't? No? So we've completed all
I
of our
think we're
business.
done. I did want to let you know
No.
that
Were you able to just
we
get
were
our
talking about
backs
what's
on
going
our
on.
Backs
with
and
the
sides.
Yes.
They
Back of our heads.
are
Backs and
having a
sides.
public hearing on a proposal
I look for
to
it. I'll listen to my voice.
reinstitute the $1,500 compensation.
Oh, that's right.
That's today at 3:15.
I thought they went for $5,000.
No, they cut, they had
Remember-
1,000, right?
Yeah,
They cut it back to
So they-
500, and now
so
they're asking for
They cut it
1,500.
in half to 750,
Right.
and now they want to restore it. But remember, in the charter, the way it's worded is you have to do it now, but it won't be effective until the next
January
session.
of 2012, right? Oh, no, July of,
Oh, I'm a little
No,
confused.
January of
I
2012.
believe it's the next.
or 2011, rather.
It's after the
Yeah.
next election,
We're
which
not
will be
gonna
in
restore
November.
everybody
I mean,
else's
I-
big cut.
That's right.
Well, we're doing that. Not that we are.
What?
We're the good guys.
What are we
So,
doing?
So they restore everybody else's pickup?
No, we're doing that.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I was
Oh,
saying.
what
We're
about
the
the,
good
what about
guys.
the COLA? Is this the time we should talk about that?
I do have 2% COLA proposed in
In the
the
next
budget, in the
What about the rest
salary
of this
reserve
year?
line.
Is there any chance of giving people a COLA this year?
Anything?
I think let me do some analysis on that right now, given the registry numbers, which are better but still not as healthy as I would appreciate. I would say at this point in time my recommendation would be no, but I wouldn't say that's permanent for the next 6 months.
Could you look at it
fiscal
like
year.
on a monthly basis?
I'd probably look at it at the end of of this current quarter, like at the end of March. Like a lot of things coming together at
Right.
the end of March. That's when I'd look at it. Only 2 cents. But yeah, that was the one thing that was going on at the assembly.
Oh, so that's what they're doing at 3:15?
3:15, yeah.
Good luck to them on that.
And then there's nothing else.
I don't believe they have it. No,
Okay, do you have anything that we should
Yeah,
talk
where does
about
it
at
go?
the assembly?
No.
I guess I'll be going. because I'm
Update
going
them
to
on the
Charter
budget.
afterwards. What?
Can I-
Hearings.
a process
I mean, our
charter
budget
today?
process.
No.
A process
Next week.
question?
Is that
If they
25th.
approve this, is that as
26th.
far as it goes?
double check.
We did it last
What
week.
is, I mean, does it have to come back to us for our approval?
It was last
Or-
week, the 13th, right?
Whereas the
We have,
27th.
we have two conversations
sorry.
going on here.
I have to look in the charter. That's a good question.
That's a,
But I believe, well, they could propose it, but then it would have to be funded through the budget. And I will say right now, the budget that Diane proposed in 2011 does include
does
it.
include it.
It does include it, yes. So that is in there right now.
Um,
But you would have to fund it. You would have to fund it through the normal appropriation
Right.
process. The actual approval of it, I don't know. I have to check the charter.
Okay.
If we went over to, I'm planning to go to the assembly meeting at 4 o'clock, anyway. And I'd be happy to represent both if you didn't want to go.
Well, it's not that I don't want to go,
No,
it's
no,
that
no,
I
you got
can't.
some, yeah, I know.
It's something else I
But
need.
is there anything other than we've been doing the budget
I
today?
think you could say you met two of the new members of the Human Rights
Right.
Commission. You're very impressed. And
Mhm.
I thought Mr. Hooligan was very
Yes.
impressive.
Yes,
John
very
as well. I know
he's a very
John a
nice
little bit,
guy.
but
Yeah, especially when you
I
talk about the
think
strategic.
the goals that
Yeah.
they've
We'll probably use
identified
them.
are on track for what we want.
No, he's,
Well, I
he's,
met
a,
him
he's a
over
great
a year
guy.
ago.
He's a really great guy.
And he and his wife both.
Did Jackie say she's not going to chair it anymore?
No,
Yeah,
she's not
they-
Yeah,
this
there's a
year.
new chair,
Yeah, Gold.
Elizabeth Swanson
Good for
Goldberg.
the health.
Oh, it's good. No question about that. Jackie's done a good job too.
Yeah.
You know,
She kept
Ernie
it
did a
going.
great job kind of establishing it. I think Jackie's done a good job.
Right. And this woman is very good. I've met her, and she will bring. And she's young and enthusiastic,
Good.
and the kids
Good.
love her stuff.
I actually should have mentioned but I just got the message when I was kind of doing my lunch. The League of Women Voters is actually putting together an April event at the Highfield House.
Right.
And they
Highfield
want,
Hall.
I'm sorry, Highfield Hall, I call it that all the time. And they want the county to participate.
Right.
It kind of works into national county government
Mhm.
recognition week kind of thing.
Okay.
But actually, that would be, so we're talking about, Cape Light Compact, AmeriCorps, Health Department, all the stuff that we do. Actually, it'd be good to have maybe the human rights
Absolutely.
people there as well. I don't know how we'll fit them all in. But
Well, I'll say again, I mean, I've known John for years, and he's a great guy. I mean, he gets stuff done.
So Doris, you must know Doris Epstein.
Yes.
Yeah, she's called me a couple of times. I just talked to her, so I'm going to meet with her on.
This is the Falmouth League.
No, well,
I think it's broader than, but maybe it's
Yeah.
just the Falmouth group.
yeah,
I
they're
don't
the
know.
ones who were here to, remember? They're,
Right,
they're
I do.
doing the
No.
county,
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
whatever they call it. I
So we'll
forgot
put,
the
we'll put
name.
together
Good.
a
Yeah.
couple of a bunch of programs so that we can fill up Highfield Hall house.
Good. Highfield
Highfield
Hall.
House.
Very good.
So that's all I have.
All right.
And next week.
Oh, yeah, do we
We
have
are-
the list for next week?
Next week we rescheduled IT. So if you need an IT thing,
Yeah, I
I will
still
give
have
you a
my
copy.
IT.
I'll make you one right now. And we have a 9 o'clock start. 9:30 we have, I believe, Arts Foundation coming in, and 10:30 we have
Thank you.
Elder Services
Elder Services.
coming in. I don't have any materials. They usually hand them out when they come here. So we have
So they'll bring
Arts
their own
Foundation,
materials.
Elder Services, then IT. Then we can do a more general budget discussion.
Okay.
Are we going to give them, or do we have the money to give them the Meals on Wheels support this year?
No.
It is in there. $75,000 is in there right now. That was the level that we.
Thank you.
Just want me just before I say that, make sure. Yep, 75 is in there right now. And in your budget, the only thing not in your budget right now is the Orleans thing, which I have to factor in. So that's an additional 15.
They've historically paid the rent on the building.
Oh, yeah, the courthouse.
Because the EDC thing went out. No, on
It's
the
an
workforce
office in
development.
Orleans for the
Yeah.
J-
Oh, for
the
the,
JTEC.
yes,
The JTEC.
okay, yeah.
So that's not in there. I have to put that
probably
in.
good.
But there is 25,000 in your budget for the Arts Foundation. That's
Yes.
higher than it was this year, actually. That's back to the 25 level that we were at for a while.
It was 25, and last year was 15, and now it's
Yeah.
back up to 25
Yeah.
again.
So that's what's in there.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that's
So
what
you want me to
adjourn.
make a copy
If you
of
would-
IT?
if you would do-
Everybody?
Yeah, I would appreciate
I have
that.
mine, I-
She
You
knows
have
it,
yours,
so I would
okay.
appreciate
You're
it.
going to
All
make a
right,
copy,
thank you.
make a motion to-
Motion
Did you guys finish?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, to recess.
Are you coming over?
No, it's a
You know,
recess, not an adjourn.
I will attempt it, but I'm not going to guarantee it because
Okay, why
I'm
don't we
beginning to
just make
fade.
this 20 for now?
I'm beginning to fade.
Okay.
So if you could just say kindly,
What are you taking?
what am I taking?
Drugs.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Don't be
Are you
kidding.
taking any antihistamines or anything?
Oh yeah, I just at night I
Have
took
you
some
got a flu
NyQuil.
shot?
No, I didn't sign up for it. It was only right here in front of me. And it was too easy, you see. So, and the other thing, I didn't go and get an antibiotic, but it actually is beginning to break now, and that's all the sputtering. And it's disgusting. And people want to run because they're like, oh,
Yes,
it's
they
the
do.
plague. But it's not. Over the weekend, I was literally,
When I went to
there was no way I could clean myself up.
You seem like
When
you're
I went
feeling
to this
good
thing
now.
Monday night,
Yeah,
We're
I'm beginning to.
Are you in recess?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are in recess. Thank you.
Because
And I
the
went to the-
Now that
assembly's
everybody
meeting